Fala galera, sejam muito bem-vindos. Esse é mais um episódio do Vamos de Vendas. Eu sou Marcelo Pereira e esse projeto, esse podcast foi criado para conectar vocês, visionários, com um time de vendas de elite. Nessa temporada, a gente está transmitindo aqui direto do coração de Santa Catarina de um evento chamado CRM Zummit, que é um evento da Zoho que conecta e traz as maiores mentes de vendas, negócios, relacionamento com o cliente, para discutir qual é o futuro dos negócios e o futuro das vendas em especial. Nesse episódio, a gente vai se debruçar sobre um assunto específico. Eu recebo 2 convidados, fico muito feliz, e ele tem uma característica específica. A gente vai gravar ele em inglês, então as pessoas que estão ouvindo aqui ao mesmo tempo, enquanto a gente está transmitindo, a gente vai gravar em inglês e pode ser que, eventualmente, depois, na tradução, a gente consiga fazer ele em português. Vamos usar um pouco mais com a inteligência artificial. Foi um outro episódio que a gente gravou. A gente vai falar sobre carreira. E os dados que a gente tem de pesquisa é que 55% dos profissionais que estão atuando na área de vendas gostariam de progredir na carreira, mas às vezes se sentem um pouco perdidos, presos e não sabem muito bem por onde começar, o que olhar e como se desenvolver. E aí, quando a gente vai para a liderança, mais de 70% dos líderes têm dificuldade de desenvolver os vendedores para os próximos passos de carreira, que muitas vezes são passos que eles também estão tendo dificuldade de navegar. E aí, para falar sobre isso, recebo com muito orgulho Aaron Ross, especialista global em vendas, super famoso, já esteve aqui no podcast várias vezes. Obrigado, Aaron, pela sua presença.
Obrigado.
Your Portuguese is like perfect.
Vamos pra cima.
Vamos para cima. E Rodrigo Vaca, diretor da Zoho Brasil. Rodrigo, muito obrigado pela presença.
Obrigado por me convidar aqui.
Sim. E a partir desse momento, a gente muda o nosso idioma oficial do podcast para inglês e vocês são muito bem-vindos a acompanhar e seguir nesse podcast até o final. A gente vai ter muita coisa legal sobre carreira. Aaron, we're going to start with you and looking at your career and everything that you did. We always have, I always would like to make this question because, I know we both, everybody comes from sales in a certain way,
Yep.
but you kind of change your perspective to several, focusing more on the connection, the human connection. My question is, and probably everybody knows you, but what was the tipping point, something that changed your perspective along the way?
I could actually answer with a variety of things. I don't think it was one thing. I would say that one of the things, I'll start with 2. So one is that I've just been talking to a lot of sales leaders from around the world, and they all say, hey, the playbooks from the past just don't feel like they're working the same way. Response rates are dropping, and all the techniques aren't working the same way. And so for me, and I've seen this I remember 15 years ago at a venture capital firm presenting, this is after Salesforce, and I was like, as the world gets busier, and there's technology floods everything, and outbound for marketing floods everything. To me, it just seems that relationships are something that will always cut through the noise. It's something that nothing's faster than the speed of trust. So that's one answer. The other is also, after having a family with 10 children, and after 12 or 13 years of being a parent, and seeing also, because in some sense, look, we have structures, and there's a chore chart, and there's a schedule, there's techniques, and there's tactics and things. And the difference between when we have a good relationship, it might be me and my spouse, it might be me and a child, or I see it between my wife and a child, how if it's a difficult time, the techniques and the tactics mean nothing. Nothing works. And if there's a good relationship, like a good energy, then a lot of things flow. And so just how important the relationships are to making anything work. And in seeing, I think the growth of technology, it felt like the relationships have been kind of forgotten about and how to invest in them.
Yeah, it's interesting to know that I was listening on your speech yesterday, and it sounds like a so simple thing, and it's impossible how we absolutely forgot about it. It's crazy.
Just exercise regularly, right? Simple.
Yep.
And it's no, not easy.
No.
But yeah.
Easy to say, not so easy to do. Rodrigo, we were kind of setting the game plan before.
Yeah.
And I of course I did my research, and I want you to, when you present yourselves, also answer to us. How was this trip that you visit? How many countries?
Well, I didn't visit 100 dealers in the trip.
That's great for a headline, by the way.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I just had a personal goal of visiting over 100 countries, and I took that career break to finally get over that threshold.
And you did it.
And I did it. Yeah.
And my question is, first you present yourself, where you're coming from, all your story, but also I want to know from you, how this trip, those career break, take some time to do something that's completely personal, change your vision of leadership and relationship, why not?
Yeah, totally. Well, first to introduce myself, I'm Rodrigo Vaca. I am the country manager for Zoho Brasil. And I've been at Zoho a total of 15, 16 years, something like that.
Since the early days.
Since the very early days, 2008 that I joined Zoho, and I held a variety of roles at Zoho, including CMO for Zoho, VP of Marketing for Zoho CRM, and now I'm here. I also ran US sales in 2012, 2014 until 2015, more or less. And now I'm here running Zoho Brasil, having fun.
Oh, that's a lot of things, man.
Yeah.
But you just skipped my real question. There was how taking a career break and finishing this personal project, which I shared with you. I love that idea.
Yeah.
How that changed your vision of leadership or impact at least, right?
Yeah. I think at some point, and I think this goes a little it goes back to what you were saying, Aaron. Sometimes we forget about the fundamental things, right? Sometimes we forget that before this career break, I was very, very, very focused on the next step, the next
Career
stage,
step.
the next, what are you going to do next? But in this small break that I took, it just helped me to reflect a lot on what I wanted to do and what I was happy with. And I realized, you know what, I'm just going to do what I like doing, and I'm going to forget about this career progression, and I want to do more. I just going to be happy. And I just going to, I work hard. I think we're having great successes here in Zoho Brasil. But that shouldn't define you, right? Focus a little bit more on personal side, on my kids, and I love traveling, so I took that time to travel around, and and I'm not sure that informed my leadership per se, but that impacted me as a person, and I think that also helped me grow as a leader, where you can see that and you give that space, and you also understand that other people are there not just to work, right? They're there to be happy as well, to be individuals, right?
Yeah. So actually a question. So do you, either in yourself or others, do you think, oh, I can either do what I like or I can be successful? Is it an either or? Because isn't that what our culture teaches us? It's true. You can't do both, right? You can't
Most times people like this, right? One option or other, right?
Yeah. I think I finally find myself in my career place in my life where I can do both, all right? I don't think that's necessarily true for everybody at every stage of their career. I think going back, this is a discussion about career, right? I think in the early days of your career, I am of the mentality, and this is something that I teach my kids, sometimes you just have to suck it up, right? You have to look at the future. You have to look at the kind of life and profession that you want to build, and realize that not every moment you're going to be having fun, right? But you also have to put that in context for how does that thing that you're doing fit in your life, right? And I know that's kind of hard to see in the early stages of your career, but you have to sort of trust the process.
Yeah, but there's also, some maturity that you're getting along the way, right? Sometimes you're not being happy and you don't even know why, because you can't perceive. You have to go to the downs, so you perceive, oh my God, there's something much better. And then you start going out of the way, right?
Or you have to go up and get what you thought what you wanted,
Yep.
VP title or the big whatever, and then it's not quite what I didn't solve this problem I thought it would.
Yeah, and then you start another journey, and then you go and go and go, right? But when you were answering, I remember one question that I was made one time to me, and the person asked, "But who are you?" And the first answer that came to our mind is our profession. I'm a sales rep. I'm a professor. And the person just asked again. No, I'm not asking what you do. I'm asking who are you besides what you do. And I didn't have the answer because I was like, oh my God, everything that I do is my work. And of course, there's something a lot wrong in that, with that answer. And then became my tipping point to change.
I think, by the way, that type of work used to work. I think in the future, actually, it won't be as effective because, like, I'll point out, when you first asked Rodrigo a question, you didn't say, how many years did you work at this, or what were your techniques? You're like, tell me about this travel trip, right? That really got a good energy going. And I think that if more of the future, the direction is when people, all they do is work. And again, there's always exceptions, but you're not going to be as differentiated from AI. You're not going to be as interesting to other people, whether they're customers or leaders or employees. And it's going to be harder for you to engage with them to create connections that, relationships could be one-to-one relationships or at scale, right? Like through content. And to me, I think those relationships are going to help people be successful no matter what happens with technology, or the world. I just think the pace of change and chaos is going to continue to speed up with the more the world gets connected. So it would be less likely for people who only have their work and nothing else for them to just be able to brute force their way to success.
Yeah, it's going to be even harder and hard. And they might think it's success, but at the end of the day, they realize as each time faster that it's not. It's just, but my second question would be for both of you, actually. If you look at people that really made it, and not only professionally, but also as a person, probably there's some characteristics that we can look and replicate, and then, he was really good doing this, so he's happy. And that little point, not the whole story, but that little point could be interesting to me. What I would like to hear from you, if you look at someone, it doesn't need to know the name and everything, there's some specific characteristic that you mimic or that you replicate on your life in order to progress on your career, your life as a person, whatever. That's not an easy question.
It's not easy.
I wrote it.
I don't know anyone as well as I know myself. And so I don't feel like I think I can point to people and look at things I don't like and what I don't want. Like, I look at Elon Musk, amazing accomplishments, but I look at his life, I'm like, I don't want that. Like, big companies and a big family, he doesn't, I don't know, it's not bad. Like, for him, it works great, but I'm like, don't want that. I'll see pictures of farms or people who work on a farm, it's like, everyone moves to the farm. Like, I like that, but, not all the time. And so, there's always these little clues I'm seeing through people, and, it's like, how can I pick these little puzzle pieces? And it's been, for me, like a process of years to kind of say, how do I fit all these puzzle pieces together for something that works for me? And so ultimately, a lot of it is, I think, wow, a lot of the big successes I've had in work or life, like in love or money, that come more through following my gut intuition and hunches, and also sticking to it for lots and lots of years, not months, like a decade, 2 decades. So I think maybe intuition and I don't know if patience is the right word.
I would say consistency, maybe.
I don't know. Well, there's like determination, because there's so many ups and downs, and like, what's like going to make what could be what's best for the family, or my relationship with my wife, or who am I? I had the same realization a few years ago. I finally had a little space to sleep, but the kids started to get a bit older. The youngest got to be like 4 and 5, so I had a bit more sleep. I got out of a different business. I kind of had some space to breathe for a bit. I've been so busy being a provider and a husband and an entrepreneur and an author and this and that. Like, well, who am I? Like, what do I actually want to do? Like, what do I like to do? What would I like to do for the sake of doing it, not just to, make money or for something else? And I've been still figuring that out for a few years. I'm getting closer. So yeah, that patience, intuition, and just kind of determination long term.
If I could get some of what you said, and kind of translate to the audience, not translate to English, but you mentioned the question that you make to yourself, because for me, the way you said, it's a great insight. You ask yourself, but not expecting to hear something specific, but just to let your own gut, internal gut, just give you, and then you get, and then you have a patience and keep going. But if this is not a process to get everything you want, I don't know if there's audience.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like lots of little steps. I have like these little. I'll give you one example. You know, there was about a year ago, I was thinking, like maybe I want to help. I really love books. So I was thinking, sales. I did that really for the most part to make money for the family. I like sales. Books I have a real passion for. And so I was kind of chatting with some people on LinkedIn about like helping them with their books. And I really had a good time when they sent me a message and I wrote back to them, oh, here's some feedback on your idea. And I was like, wow, that was fun. And like that moment, there's like those little moments, it's so easy to overlook, but like that little, it's almost like not even a whisper, it's just like this little passing breath of a feeling. And if I hadn't kind of noticed that, if I'd been too busy and too rushed and like those things every day, few days, few weeks, and just over time, it's like a Lego set, but it's only 1,000 pieces, and every few days I get one more piece. So it's been at least 3 years of kind of piecing these things together, but getting there.
I was wondering if you could share with us sort of that process, because you had more of a corporate job in your earlier days at Salesforce, and now you're on the completely different side, being more of an entrepreneur, working on your books, working with other people. So how long would you say that entire process took, and what triggered it for you to leave the quote-unquote corporate world and go after these other things?
Well, I'll try to keep it like simple, because the corporate world was up until like 2006. So Salesforce.com plus some other technology companies plus investment banking. So from graduating college for maybe not 10 years, but so 10 years was just jobs, and I knew including starting a company and having it fail. Leaving that, like I think because I'd started a company and I'd already had a little bit of the entrepreneurial bug in me, because in college, I did a painting business, and both my parents were entrepreneurial, but I never thought of myself. I didn't grow up. This is before the internet, so I went to learn at the library. There wasn't this whole entrepreneur culture, or you need to go out and when you're 17 and buy crypto and make a lot of money so you can get a yacht. And so I think it was over time just was a lot about my son asked me, he's like, how did you make money? And I think, well, I just did what was the most interesting thing in front of me next. I didn't really have a big plan. I never really had a vision for my life. And even if I, as younger, I don't remember anyone asking me what did I want to do. So I just was like, I'm just going to do this next thing, even though it's really strange. I'll go to, I did programming in high school, and okay, I'll go to college for engineering. And then I went to investment banking. I was like, that's boring. I'm going to go to product marketing. Okay, I'll go to business school. Now I'm going to drop out of that and start a company. It's just all these random things. And I didn't have a long-term plan. I had not to stick to the plan. So I think that served me in some ways, because I wandered around and learned different skills, all this. So it was really getting that kind of, intuition, just things that felt right, even if they didn't make sense. Adopting kids, having 10 kids doesn't make sense. Like, even both sets of our parents are like, you're having more kids, like you're already exhausted, you're already financially stretched, and like, what's wrong with you? Like, what? And I'm not even in a joking way. They're like, do you need to see a therapist? You and your wife?
They're not joking at all.
No, I'm not joking, actually. I had a call from my family members, like, I'm kind of worried about you. Ever since you're in that coma after this other thing, you've been a bit awkward, strange. And I'm like, thanks for the support, but no, I'm good. And then, just left. The one more thing I'll add, because is after working at Salesforce.com, I spent some time. Went to Asia, was reflecting, and at some point I realized, I don't want to. was interesting, is that I left Salesforce.com thinking, okay, now I'm going to start another company. I'll raise money, do some tech thing. I'm in Silicon Valley, live in Northern California. And then after a few months, I kind of reflected and was like, actually, I don't want any of that, really. I don't want to be a CEO and raise money and live in Northern California and be in this tech world where everyone talks about the same stuff all the time, in Silicon Valley at least. I don't know what I want to do, but all I know is I want to make as much money as I want doing what I love. And I don't know what that is yet. This is 15 years ago, but I'm going to go figure it out. So I think it was willing again to be like, I know I want to do something. I don't know what it means or how I'm going to do it. Like even at Salesforce, I know I need to learn sales. I'm just jump in and figure it out. I don't know. And being willing to kind of jump in and not knowing the end game. This is a direction. I know this is important. Point A is important, but point B, I don't know. I kind of want to be an entrepreneur and have love and laughter, but I don't know what that means yet. So I'll just work it out as I go and kind of trust that the steps will continue to come after each other. And that's, there's so much more. I could go on for an hour. I got to write more books, I guess, to get all this down.
Yeah, that little piece, it would become a great book just by the way. And one thing that always come up when we're preparing this podcast, you interview other professionals, they repeatedly come in with the idea that or they can have professional success or they can find their purpose. By finding purpose without the hype, just finding themselves. You guys think it's one thing or the other? Rodrigo, what you think? How was your career finding happiness in what you do, right?
Well, I think I've been very lucky throughout my life. I started as a developer as well. I started writing code. Then I decided to go to business school. Then I always thought of myself as a big corporate guy. But then as I started working in big corporations, I realized that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I went to a tiny little startup called Zoho that everybody thought I was crazy to leave Google for Zoho. And now here we are. Now, we turn into this big corporation, but I think I get the best of both worlds because, it's a big corporation.
That's right. Now you are a big corporate guy.
Now we are, but I'm here in Brazil, creating things from scratch. So I kind of get the best of both worlds because it's a big corporation. We have the financial stability and resources and all that, but I also get to do things from scratch, which one of the things that I learned about myself is I'm a builder. I like to build things, and it's not just necessarily physical things, but teams and processes and whatever it is, I like to be building, right? And I get to do that here every day, and it's just fantastic.
And that's not something that when you were starting, right?
No. I thought I was going to be run this department, right? Be this corporate guy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think where people go wrong with the purpose, I need purposeful work is, I need purposeful work and I can't find it, so I can't do anything. Nothing's good enough. Versus sometimes you need to do work for this, there's so many reasons the work is valuable. It could be you learn a skill, you get a salary, or you meet people, or purpose might be part of that. But it became this big thing, which is, you need purposeful work, and everyone needs a purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, you're failing. If you're only making money, then what's wrong with you, right? I want to do something more than making money. I think it's also easier on the other side when you have a family to support, and so purpose is important. You 100% can have a purpose in work. Sometimes there's different types. So, because I've had, I think, a lot of versions of purpose in work. Sometimes my purpose, at Salesforce, was to learn sales. That was my purpose for that job. It wasn't a life purpose. It was a short-term purpose. I did a lot of sales consulting for years with the purpose of making money to support the family. Right? That was the purpose of that work. I liked parts of it. I didn't like other parts. I didn't get joy out of it. But now it's kind of evolved. I've probably had other versions, but now, my purpose, what I'm looking for is actually, it's more of a me purpose. It's not an external purpose of making money or learning something. It's how can I do things that I like, and not only it's not a sacrifice. It's not I'll find work that I like and I'll make less money than I did before. I can't have a big family. I still need to support them. I need to find work that I like, that I get value out of the work itself, whether it's writing or meeting people, and actually make more money than I did before when I was doing work that was okay, but it didn't have the internal purpose. It was for the family. It was for other people, and now I need it for myself too. And so I think, again, there's a lot of people. I can't think of examples, but I'm sure there are. I'll be another example of finding purpose and things that I like to do, and I'll actually be more successful for that than if I tried to do work that I thought would make money, but my heart wasn't in it. At this point in my life, it wouldn't have worked, I don't think, earlier for me in my life, but now it's kind of built on. It's like a tree, like ring after ring after ring has been built. Now I'm ready.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the word joy as one sign that you had to do something and to kind of look for other things. And also to Rodrigo, I want to ask you, I mean, what would be, and even for our audience to understand on your perspective, what would be those signs that it's time to move, or it's time to go to a next step, or even it's time to change something where you're doing, but it's time to change, right?
Yeah. I think those are little signs that your body, your soul give you slowly over time. I think that word joy that you use is very powerful, right? But I think having in mind what you said, Aaron, what you said, I also read in some other places, and it was somebody giving the advice to other people that you need to be okay with the idea that your purpose in life may or may not be realized through your job. And that was very powerful.
Would you say that your
purpose in life may or may not be realized through your
second? I thought you said poor person life. Yeah, like living is a purpose in life. Yeah, and don't. I think it's okay. Yeah, to be like purpose. I haven't found it. It doesn't like strike like lightning. Like I've got it. It kind of slowly builds over time. At least that's what my own experience, and it's okay to not feel that at the time you're at.
Right. Yeah. It's okay to have a shorter time frame purpose, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like chill out a bit, man. Like I think social media helps build. It's like all these huge expectations on what you should be doing. You should be exercising. You should have purpose and make money. And you should thrive this way. You do this with your spouse and and like you just can't do it all. So.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's such a pressure for you to be someone else, and not you.
It's counterproductive. Yeah.
One thing that I get asked a lot, and of course I'm gonna transfer to you the question, is about leadership. It's not only, especially sales leadership, it's not only hitting the target, hitting the goal. What would be leadership in the perspective of you, Aaron? What, if you had to define or give a hint for other people, how do you see? I make hard questions.
I actually think leadership, if you're hitting the targets and hitting the goals, you probably don't need a lot of leadership. Like it's kind of like the easy times. Your relationships. If everyone's happy, you don't really know the strength of the relationship. It's like when things are really hard, when you're not hitting the goals, that's when you need leadership. Or again, any relationship, whether it's with a spouse, with kids, or in your team. So it's like, how do you blame? Do you shame? Do you? Well, it could be yourself too, or the people. Or do you say, look, there's things happening, whether they feel good or bad. It's like there's things happening. We want different things to happen, and let's work together to what can we do together. And I think I've been really impressed by Thiago Muniz with our team here in Brazil. Like it's been amazing what he's done, and how he's grown the company over the last few years. And a lot of it is really about culture and about leadership and about humility, right? Not letting ego get in the way. In other words, not taking credit where credit isn't due. But also not taking blame where blame isn't due, and not blaming other people. It's just trying to be like, look, appreciate the people, talk to them, listen, coach, and work together as a team. And it's a lot of this soft stuff that doesn't translate to easy kind of hacks and tricks. But I think it's the things that really make a big difference over time. That seeing people for who they are. Okay, we have a problem here. Let's have a tough conversation. It's not one person, how do we move through this to the next step? Like that to me is a lot of leadership. and not the fancy have a big vision and like
The corporate leadership.
you know, you need to like charge the hill and like set big goals that people feel are impossible. And you know, I think there's a lot of for all the companies I've worked with, anytime people set big goals to try to motivate the people, it just backfired. I've never actually seen it where there's some, you know, Elon Musk story, which there are out there, but it's so much the exception from my personal experience.
Yeah, and I think I agree 100%. Rodrigo, please.
You know, I think in this day and age, we all like to think that we are numbers driven, right? And this is thrown a lot in sales and
Speak for yourself.
in sales and marketing.
Not really.
And we say that like it's a good thing. So to your question about what is leadership, to me, leadership is when you learn to not be numbers driven, when you learn to go against the numbers. And this
Yes, it's like use the numbers, but not be used by the numbers.
no, not be used by the
That's
numbers, right?
great
Like
quote, yeah.
any AI, any kid out of school can follow the numbers and say, "Oh, this person is not performing. Let's fire them." Come on, that's not leadership. Leadership is stepping up and saying, "I know this guy is not doing good, but I believe in him because of this, of this, of this." Things we cannot quantify on a spreadsheet, on the quota, and standing up for that guy or standing up for your strategy that goes against the grain. I think that's what true leadership is. Just following the numbers, like anybody can do that, right? It's against the numbers.
Yeah, and you go back to the answer with relationship, with joy, inspiring other people by your actions, right? That's all about it.
Yeah.
And
Leading by example.
yeah, that's great. Yeah. By the time you were answering, I'm thinking in myself, some of the books that I read, some of the places and people that I met that had the same connection that impacted my life. And I challenge the audience to do the same, right? Listen to this and think about people and connection and information and some specific moments in life that have the power to change one life, at least change the direction, and then to have more joy in a certain way.
I have this little framework that I use with my team whenever we have somebody who's not performing, we're thinking of maybe letting go. I always ask to summarize this person in three aspects. The first one is results. Okay, is he hitting quota? Is he bringing enough leads? Is entering enough tickets? That's results. That's easy. That's for anybody to see, right? Then we have activities, right? Okay, maybe you're not hitting your quota, but you're making calls, but you are doing this, you're doing that, right? But at the base of the pyramid, and the most important thing for me as a leader is, do they have the right attitude, right? Maybe they don't have the results, maybe they don't have the activities yet, but do they have the attitude to go get that, right? How do they interact with you as a manager? How do they interact with their colleagues, right? And the inverse of that is true. Maybe they bring great results. Maybe they have a lot of activities, but they're a toxic person for the team because of their attitude, right? So this goes both ways.
Yeah, that's a good framework, a good perspective.
Yeah,
also.
I like that.
Yeah, and now I want to make you a simple question. That was probably the simplest one that I'm gonna do. When I say simple questions, get worried because they're not not simple at all.
No, it's a trick.
Simple.
It's a trick. Don't fall for it.
No, it's just kind of a framework to set you guys relax. Simple question. Everybody say, "Oh, easy one," and then boom.
Wow.
But the simple question is: first, imagine that we're talking to someone that's listening us, our audience, and he's in the moment that he's thinking about change, but it's completely lost. What would be your first advice? Whatever, if they work for you or not, but what would be your steps that would say, hey, take a look at this, start by this, and go that direction, right? Lembrando que esse podcast é um oferecimento do Zoho CRM, um software de gestão do relacionamento com o cliente que tem funcionalidades ideais para os líderes de venda que querem levar os resultados para outro nível. Experimente gratuitamente em zoho.com/CRM. E agora, vamos de volta para o podcast.
No, actually, okay, look, I got an example, and I mentioned this in the keynote last night where I talked to a CEO yesterday, and he's very stressed. I mean, he's always a bit high anxiety anyway, but, cash is tight, and he lost his his sales director, who was really the only other person right now doing sales. There's a contractor. and he's got deals, and he's only one person. He's the CEO. He's got a team, but no one else in sales. So he's like, he can't handle it all himself now, and he's also like trying to get the company positioned for sale in like a year, and churn is up, and there's a bunch of problems, right? And he's just like in fight or flight mode, right? It's like if your house is on fire. Blah! And, I had to repeat a few times, like, the message was, you need to free up some of your mental energy and time so you can think straight. So how can you reduce the number of direct reports you have, like rely more on the team, rather than trying to hire some outside, salesperson and like ramp them up? Like, who on the team can help you take over some portion of what you're doing? Do we know any prior customers of yours who could be consultants on some of these things, who already know you in the company? Do I know some people? And it wasn't to get help necessarily. It's more to help free up, because I could see how he had like tunnel vision. He's not making good decisions. It's like, until you can kind of open up a little bit. I know it's stressful. It's not making the stress go away, but just get a bit of breathing space in some areas, so he can be in a better place to make better decisions. Because anything he decided now, it's not a good decision. I'm just listening to him talk. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is really struggling. And he's not in a good place right now. So he needs to get in a better place before he can think that way.
Yeah, and the story is great. In Portuguese, there is a sentence that if you were inside a hole, at least stop for a moment. Because anything you're going to do, you're going to go deeper, right?
That's right on. Stop takes the first thing and stop and go.
Well, there's another phrase. I'll answer your question more deeply, but there's another phrase. I think it's by Winston Churchill that says, "When you're going through hell, just keep going."
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going through.
Yeah.
So just realize that
it's perfect.
You're going through this, right? But to answer this, with my own perspective, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what to do. I always try to, and this is something that I try to teach my kids. You need to separate your actions from the outcome that you have, because sometimes you're gonna take an action. It's the best action you could have taken, but the result is still not gonna be optimal, and you are not gonna know the result until sometime after. Right? It's not something that you know immediately. So I try to teach them, okay, you could do A or B, and then you could have result 1 or 2, right? And you build a little matrix. And that way you figure out what should you do. And at the end, given the result that you got, and you don't know what the result is going to be, but given that result that you got, what action would you have rather taken at that time, right? And sometimes the answer is, when you go through that exercise, you go like, you know what? I'm just going to give this my 100%, because even if I lose, this is what's going to make me happier, right? So you change your framework a little bit. It's not about getting the result or not getting the result. It's being at peace with yourself and what you could have done and what you should have done.
Yeah, and that's a great way to logically think about a mindset change. For example, we come out from that spot that we just were with the problem, and we start to, okay, things are going. Guys, thank you very much for your time. There was an episode that we learned a lot. Everybody that's going to listen to us, you will understand much more about career, about development, and overall about what really matters in life. So thank you very much, Rodrigo.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you. If you guys want to leave your contacts, someone get in contact with you, social or something?
Sure, just LinkedIn, Rodrigo Vaca.
I can contact you there.
Find me. Yeah, of course.
All right.
Yeah, for me, best is probably to reach out to my team here at Receita Previsível.com, which is like Tiago. I think it's Tiago at receitaprevisível.com.
And find and put it right on the bottom. Yeah, anyway. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you.
This was another episode of Vamos de Vendas. Thank you very much for your audience. I hope it helps you to progress on your career and most of all on your life. And I see you next episode. Thank you very much.